The Humanitarian social networks are a project we came up, why we came up with this idea, what we think we can provide organizations to really leverage their own stories and to help their social communication. So I'm going to take you through this. If ever you have a question, I know we have time at the end, but if it's really urgent, I'll look at you and I'm free to respond, you know, if you raise your hand. So today's talk, I wish I could stand and walk with a remote, I don't. Is going to be the focus point of communication is really between humanitarian organizations and the public. So we're not talking about government donors, you know, big donors, but we're talking about general private donors, or just you know, young people or interested people who can donate their attention, their time, their networks to really sort of push forward your agenda. So let's look at the current information communication technology trends in the sector. Obviously, the internet coming, you know, 2 decades ago has changed things a lot. Now it's a lot easier to reach a lot of people quickly, faster at a lower cost, and the subsequent sort of rise of social media obviously has brought a lot of changes with, you know, the very well-known Facebook and Twitter that's used by most organizations today to, you know, I don't need to read you this, you know everything, but to raise awareness for their causes, to raise money, to communicate results, to share links, blah, 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 blah. However, I think there needs to be, you know, we need to stop for a moment and think, what is it that we as humanitarian organizations are doing well, and what is it that we're not doing so well? Where is there room for improvement, and what can we do to help? So I think, obviously, social media has brought this capacity for humanitarian organizations to communicate their results much quicker, much faster, much easier. So it's easier to update a Facebook page or a Twitter feed than it is to update a whole website, for example, obviously. It's brought more interactive communication, like we know with supporters and donors. You know, you can talk to your public, which is good, and it's brought the capacity of integrating, you know, multiple media in the communication. However, I think the most important point to focus on is really what can we do better. I think talking to obviously a lot of you guys, a lot of humanitarian organizations, we often hear that it's hard for you to cut through the noise. Obviously, social media is a very hectic place. It keeps on changing. If you try to follow a Twitter feed, if it doesn't update within 5 seconds, there's something wrong. So it's obviously very hard for organizations to push their content, push their message, and be heard in the mess that social media is. So that's one shortcoming or one point of focus that I think needs to be improved. The other argument that I would push forward is the idea that communication is not truly social. Although we call it, you know, social media, and NGOs or UN agency will use social media, I think we need to ask ourselves really how social is that communication? Because when you think about it, Facebook is a book of faces, right? That's where the name comes from. And it's this whole idea that you're online and you talk to your friends, you talk to real people with faces and names. And obviously you spend a lot of time on there, and organizations and businesses are trying to chip in this conversation and get some of your attention time. However, they're doing it from a logo standpoint, if you want, so it's like this faceless organization coming in and talking to you. And like I said, no faces, and oftentimes acting like bots online, really, just, you know, throwing content at you, but it's not really social. You don't feel like you're talking to somebody. You just feel like this building or this robot is responding to a comment or sharing links. I think, you know, that can be leveraged a lot better in terms of what social media can truly do. And, you know, we've seen success stories, things like the Arab Spring, and what that's brought. Obviously, you would learn about it from people on the ground, and it felt much more real, much more relatable than learning about it from, you know, a faceless NGO, for example. So, you know, just to illustrate this point, you can obviously look at something like this. You know, what's more interesting? The Twitter feed of the World Food Program and getting, you know, results and statistics and just links, or actually, you know, the Twitter account of the head of the World Food Program and getting really to hear the daily sort of struggle against hunger from her perspective, and really what she's doing to fight, you know, against hunger, or to lead her team to do whatever. But actually, this feels much more real to me because, you know, the first thing I see is a name and a face. It's just like in real life when I meet you guys. You know, I stand here and I see a lot of beautiful faces, but I don't know who you work for yet. But when we start talking, I'll get to know that. And then we can, you know, drive that as a conversation starter if you want. But I'll learn about your organization with the work you do through you. And I'll remember that face and I'll attach it to your organization. It makes it feel much more real. And some people are trying, you know, the trend is moving, but not everybody is doing this, obviously. You know, if I want to hear about the World Food Program, who's working on the ground, she's not always on the ground. I can't really communicate with people on the ground. And maybe there's something interesting to do about getting other people than just the head of the organization on Twitter with an account like this. So that's what we're bringing, and ideally in more than just 140 characters of Twitter. So, illustrate my point further, this is just a typical Twitter feed, Facebook feed. And I don't know where your eye is going right now, but to me it's fairly simple, it's going up there. Why? Because it's got, photos, and that would be the prime example of what noise is in social media. Why? Because, this user up there, we can't really see the image is cut, but that's people the user actually knows. It's got faces, you have this human connection, photos, they're your friends. Obviously there's a message down there below from an NGO working in poverty, but like, where does your eye go, Like, what's really catching my attention? This faceless, news update from this poverty organization. Or my friends up there, having a party last Thursday, you know what I mean? Obviously some people are doing better than others. If you look just below, that's the Facebook account of somebody who works for the Global Poverty Project. This to me is it's a lot more interesting because you get this human face, it feels much more authentic, you can actually relate to it, it feels much more real. I can actually, get in touch with this guy and learn about the work he's doing or this organization is doing through him. Just like you would do in real life, and that's the point of social communication, in my opinion. That's what can be leveraged. So, it's time to ask ourselves really, how social are we in our communication? If you look at the Facebook page is UNICEF, obviously it's got loads of followers. It's great. It's got this good brand name. Obviously, it attracts a lot of attention. You'll get links and news, but how social is this? How really interesting is that? And if you look at the pictures, you get pictures from kids on the receiving end of aid, but you don't hear anything about the other 50% of the story, which is the giving end of aid. All of these people who dedicate their lives, really, their working lives to the work of UNICEF, who believe in it, they have a reason to do it. They've got loads of stories, to tell you about, what's important about children's rights. And they're probably the best ambassador for the cause, but yet they're not heard. We can't meet them, we can't talk to them directly. We have all these great tools, social media, but it's not used for them. So it's a resource that's untapped, that's unleveraged, in my opinion. It's not about, I'm not telling communications department of NGOs that you need to invest millions of dollars to do this or this or that. No, I'm saying, you've got the stories already, you've got the people already. Why not do something about it? Maybe that'd be a better way to connect with your public. So I think the trend is changing. I think a lot of organizations are coming to realize, and when we talk about social media, we mean something that's social. It sounds really dumb, but there's actually a lot of wisdom in it. So you're starting to see, more videos with, the face of those organizations, trying to understand what really, for example, what UNICEF is doing through the, UNICEF Pakistan representative, Dan Rohrman right there. This is great, but that's a well-crafted video, and it's only going to come out, once every quarter or something. What if I want to get in touch with him? What if I want to follow him closer, like to get, what he's doing every day? That's not done online right now, and I think that's something we have to do. There's a gap that needs to be filled. And so that was UNICEF. There's also something else that came out lately. I don't know if you guys have heard of the World Humanitarian Day at all. It was fairly, strongly promoted by the UN this year. And they had this slogan, and they called it paying tribute to people helping people. And that, it made me click, and I went, oh, the sector is actually moving, they're considering it. And like I told you, humanitarian organizations are all endowed with those great, powerful, rich stories, but they go untold, and they're unleveraged in their communication. I think that's a shame, really, because it's resources that send there is not doing anything. So this is the current model if we really simplify things and draw a stick man. I think on one side we have the public, be it private sector donors, the singular donors, you and me just donating to the Red Cross, for example. Supporters, volunteers, young talent as well, young people ultimately looking for work. They might consider working in the humanitarian sector, but if there's nothing that's really out there to tell them that it is possible, then the Red Cross, for example, is not a big brother organization. It's made of people like you and me who are dedicating their lives to it. If that's how we perceive the humanitarian world, as like huge buildings that are inaccessible, I don't think we can move forward really in inspiring the world to support the humanitarian movement. But if we change it a little and we, take the people who work for these organizations out a little bit and invite them to speak with the public directly, and foster those sort of sustainable, long-term, face-to-face connections, I think we can change something. I think that, this could be something powerful for the whole humanitarian sector, at least in terms of generating attention, support, donors, etc. So I have a video that I'm going to show you that basically explains everything that I just said with no words. So I've been speaking a lot, fast. And then I'm going to show you something that a baby, a young kid 5 years old would understand. So I'll play this and hopefully we'll get sound, yeah? If we can put it on. This is what we do. The website's right here. No words. I think you get the idea. Bringing you back to this. So we basically created this in February of this year, and it's me and a bunch of friends, and we're broke students who just thought this idea was worthwhile. So we built this platform, and we call it a space online where humanitarians can come to educate each other in the world. So exchanging ideas, but also educating the whole public, sharing the work they do, connect and act in synergy for the better of humanity as a whole. Now, why are we doing this? 3 reasons. I'll take you through them really quickly. The first one is to create a one-stop portal with faces, like I told you. Like the first thing you see is not organizations, but it's people with names and faces like you would in normal life. It's actually open and accessible, so we're telling people, keep your private lives on Facebook. We don't want to get the party pictures, you can keep that away from us. You get this really one-stop portal, this central community for humanitarianism, and they get everybody on there completely with all of their information open and accessible to anybody. So you don't need to follow somebody to get the information. You don't need to ask for permission. Everything is there, but the information you put on there obviously is not dangerous in whatever way, shape, or form. It's about the stuff you do for humanity. It's about the stuff you do in your work, for your organization. It's about promoting those programs, sharing photos, videos, blogs, and things like this. And you can obviously easily befriend anybody and start a conversation with real people, with real faces. So this is, if you look at the list of members, this could grow on and on and on, but the first thing you'll see again is faces and names. So this is an example of a typical profile on It's One Humanity. You'll see the picture on the left, the name, and then the location, and all of the social media attire if you want, all of their blog posts, topics, events, photos, blah, 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 blah. And then you can see the profile information. If you look in there, it says organization. This, Megan works for Medical Team International. I get to learn about medical teams through her. So then you tell me, what's more interesting? If I look at traditional communication and I go on their website and I look at what they do, and then I can maybe get news of, the latest in their work and then the latest in their campaigns. I get photos and poorly updated websites. What's more interesting, this or, something like this, where I get really a live photo of, work in children's health in the DRC by Megan right there. I can like it, I can push it off to Twitter, push it off to Google+, to Facebook, and I can get in touch with her directly. Talk about transparency. This is it. She can be messaged directly by any humanitarian on the platform. Like I said, people don't need to find her using Twitter or Facebook, waiting for her to accept them as a friend or something. The whole idea is that people will rate this content, humanitarians will rate this content, and the best content will make it to today's top content. So that's how we reward good bloggers, that's how we reward good work. That's how humanitarian organizations can get their work known by the public. And then all of these people, it becomes like a humanitarian think tank, if you want, like a core community of people working on humanitarian issues. And all these people have their own Twitter followers, have their own Facebook friends. Whatever they find on there they think is interesting, they can easily push it off. So that it becomes a core that's connected, very well integrated with Facebook and Twitter. And like I said, the transparency, the immediacy of it all makes the organization, in this case Medical Teams International, seem much more real. If I can follow Megan like this, for 6 months, a year, 5 years, then I start developing this relationship with her. I can contact her, she can talk to me, we can chat together. And then, all of a sudden, Medical Teams International start to matter a lot more to me than any other, other NGO doing the same typical kind of work. Like I said, full social media interaction. We have social sign-ups. You don't even need to sign up on It's One Humanity. You can just click and log in through your Facebook, your Twitter, your Google account. And it's got seamless social sharing. So it's about creating this community that people can then push content out. So you gather the people who are most likely to become your brand ambassadors, most likely to champion your causes, and then you can leverage these people's own personal networks. So that's the whole idea. You have this core and then you push it out. So any piece of media on it has got the social media attire, so it can easily be pushed out to the external world. And the benefits, like I said earlier, it's about leveraging on-tap resources. It's not something new. It doesn't require a massive investment. The stories are there. Your people are already there. It's stuff that organizations already have. And I think doing this, you can improve the transparency of the organization, the accountability, of course, with the public, and build valuable, sustainable, long-term relationship with the public, with benefactors, and get them to know your organization on a one-to-one basis, kind of. So that when you think about the NGOs that you're most likely to donate to, if for me at least, somebody gives me a report, a completely faceless report about this NGO that work in Peru for children, or I get to meet the friend of a friend who does work in Peru for a similar organization, and I hear the stories through that friend or through that person directly, I'm much more likely to feel attached or to feel this desire to help this person, because it feels much more real. Especially in this era where people are obviously donor fatigue and they don't really know if the money is actually going there. And like I said, lastly, it gives you this capacity of really gathering your potential brand ambassadors and the champions of your causes and helping you leverage their personal networks. So this is what it looks like. We're online. It's onehumanity.org. My Twitter and Facebook is on top there. That's all for me, really. And I'm open to question, feedback, anything. No tomatoes, no eggs. And what else was I going to say? Yeah, we're still a young, very young NGO. We're still a very young organization, and it's, like I said, it's basically me and friends who thought of this because we thought there was a need for it and we believe in it. That's the reason why we're doing it. But we're obviously looking for your feedback. We want to help you guys communicate better and foster better connections and long-term sort of sustainable relationships with the public. So if you know, from your point of view, there's anything you can think of that we could do better, or that wouldn't work, or that whatever, we're open. And feel free to voice your thoughts now or come to me after, and I'll be here. That's it. Thank you very much.